Welcome back. I'm Sal Buscemi, CEO of Dandrew Media and co-founder and managing director at Dandrew Partners here in New York City. In commercial real estate, the people who are always the most prosperous are those who understand what we call capital structure. Not all debt and equity are created equally. In this video, we talk about how someone was able to control a $285 million asset in New York City for just $2 million. Sound incredible? Not really. In fact, in down markets, this is commonplace. But you need to know where to look. And in this third part of our 5-minute fundamentals mini-series on commercial deal structuring secrets, we discuss some of the most commonly misunderstood terms in commercial real estate. That term specifically being mezzanine financing, or what us industry insiders call mezz pieces. Imagine being able to structure this strategy to control a property just 1/10 the size of this deal in your own neighborhood. Sounds interesting? Let's go to the whiteboard then so I can show you how it's done. Welcome back to the third series here in our installment, 5-minute fundamentals, where we're talking about deal structuring strategies for commercial real estate. Number 3, we're going to get into it, is talking about something that very little people know about, but they love to throw out these terms. And it has to do with mezzanine financing. Mezzanine loans really aren't loans, they're more hybrids. They're treated as equity and as debt because of the remedies that are involved in there. And we talk about that in the webinar quite extensively as to how this is defined as what we call a structured product. I want you to write that term down, a structured product. So when you're talking to capital providers, you know exactly what they're talking about, and they know exactly what you're talking about, because there's a big difference between debt and equity, and mezzanine falls in between, sometimes called junior mortgages. The myth in the industry is that there's actually a second mortgage business out there for commercial, and there couldn't be anything further from the truth. And again, we talk about that a lot in the webinar, so you're going to want to pay attention to that part. Suggested uses, when the senior current lender wants a new sponsor or not. Okay, so this is similar to something like a subject to. However, I've heard it be called as sort of like changing the foster parents in the middle of the night, because sometimes your senior lender doesn't know who the sponsor is. Remember, if you're the borrower sitting in a house and all of a sudden the next day you have a new borrower there and you're the lender, you're going to be quite irritated about that. But it determines on how documents read. And that core document that everybody's going to refer to is called the Creditor agreement. So, how is it structured? Mezzanine is purchased. Somebody comes to us for money to be able to find a defaulted or performing mezzanine piece that they feel as though is a great opportunity. Remember, it has a good basis, it's a strong asset, and it's very desirable. They have read the Creditor agreement, or we have, to make sure that there's certain rights and remedies in case of default. What happens, who gets wiped out, who gets all the beans. A new mezz holder, which is you or someone who you find, does what we call a Ucc foreclosure on the entity. So you're actually foreclosing, if you will, on the shares of stock in that corporation that holds that asset. Very interesting. Here's a true story in New York City. The W Hotel at Union Square, not too far from our offices on 5th Avenue, is actually going into a Ucc foreclosure. They had defaulted on the mezz piece of the hotel, and people were bidding on it. The asset itself was worth, at that point, $285 million. I want to repeat that again. The asset at that time was worth $285 million. The buyer of that mezz piece got a $285 million asset for $2 million. Let me repeat that again. The buyer of that mezz piece, that defaulted mezz piece, was able to buy, subject to the existing debt, a $285 million asset for $2 million. So now you understand how this is a huge wealth creator that we've started working with these strategies, really pulling back the layers of the onion, so we're digging deep here. And if some of this is kind of confusing, don't worry about it. We have all the tools and resources to make sure you understand it and you're clear on it and you have all the support you need. The income streams that are coming off of this, well, if somebody's buying this, you're going to get the financing points up front for that. And that's going to be really great. Equity participation in anything is the most important wealth creating tool that you could actually ever have. So you're going to want to make sure that you're negotiating the equity when it comes to you providing the financing for this. The style is moderately aggressive. This usually happens behind law firm doors. It's not something that you're going to see publicized in the newspaper, like a residential default or foreclosure, for example. And the best asset classes here that work with this strategy is anything that has actually a mezz piece in their capital structure. That's why we always ask for number 3, question 3 of the 5 data points, what is the debt structure? Who is on there? We know if it's a first trust deed or if it's a mezz piece or if it's something else. That's why we ask the hard questions, because that's how you structure it in the back of your mind as you're going through all these data points. So let's move on now to the next strategy, which I can't wait to share with you.